Hello guys, welcome to another book recommendation. Today is going to be a little bit different because I'll recommend not just one book, but the entire Penguin Black Classics box set. There are 80 little books in here, all numbered, picked from the entire range of the Penguin Classics. This box set was released when Penguin Books turned 80 in celebration, and when I saw it on Amazon for the first time, I immediately bought it because I thought it was an excellent idea. So all of the books look something like this, very small, and if we open it up you can see that the pages are fairly small as well, and every book is around, give or take, 50 pages. This one is on Marco Polo, and this one is an excerpt from Marco Polo Travels. And if we take a look at this one, you can see that that's Edgar Allan Poe, The Telltale Heart, and it contains short stories from Edgar Allan Poe. And if you open it up, you'll see that it's a very small book, and it's a paperback. And the quality is not very good. It's just a normal paperback, so it will wear and it will break easily. But that's not really the point. These are not for show, they're for reading. If you're not familiar with the Penguin Classics, they put out a lot of books. This is a pretty straightforward paperback of The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. As cheap as you can get it, still a nice looking book. This is the deluxe range of Penguin Classics. This is the Iliad and the Odyssey of Homer, the ancient Greek mythology. But that's also just paperbacks. I just picked them up because they had a good price for both of them. They also put out contemporary books and newer books, not in the classic range. This one is a biography of Socrates by Paul Johnson of Penguin Books. So what you get if you pick up the box set is 80 books, priced around less than $1 for each of them. And they'll contain excerpts from books or works of classic literature, short stories, plays, poems, essays, everything from the private letters of Mozart, my dearest father, to the Brothers Grimm fairy tale, the Robber's Bridegroom. So what I expected to get from this box set was to discover a lot of authors that I were not aware of in classic literature, and that really hit the mark. I had just been watching Marco Polo on Netflix and enjoying that, so one of the first books that I picked up to read was this one. Now it says it's by Marco Polo, Travels in the Land of Serpents and Pearls, but he was in jail in Genoa, and someone else actually wrote this account for him based on what he told him. And if you open up that book, I'll just read a little bit from it. Here first is a story of a rich king. I give you my word that this king has at least 500 wives or concubines, for I assure you that the moment he lays eyes on a beautiful woman or girl, he wants her for himself. On one occasion, this led him into the shameful behavior I will describe to you. Let me tell you that this king caught sight of a very beautiful woman who happened to be his brother's wife, and he took her from him and kept her for himself. His brother, who was a wise man, patiently bore his wrong and did not quarrel with him. And this was why, despite his forbearance, he was repeatedly on the brink of making war on him. But their mother would show them her breasts, saying, "If you fight with each other, I will cut off these breasts that suckled you." And so the trouble was averted. So how's that for avoiding trouble? There's also an account of how piracy panned out in ancient days. The kingdom is home to the most infamous pirates in the world, and I assure you that they perpetrate the enormity I will now describe, for you should know that when these wicked pirates capture merchants, they make them drink tamarind mixed with seawater, which sends the merchants scurrying below to pass or vomit up the contents of their stomachs. The pirates then collect everything the merchants have produced and sift through it to see if they contain any pearls or other precious stones, for the pirates say that when the merchants are captured, they swallow their pearls and other precious stones to keep them out of their captors' hands. So that sounds a lot like smuggling in a modern day airport. Swallow the stuff. And after that, I picked up this, which is Socrates' Defense. And that's written down by Plato, who was there at the trial when Socrates was condemned to death. And I had just read the biography I showed you earlier of Socrates, but it did not include any of the original texts. So I was happy to find Socrates' Defense in my little black books here. And I'll read you some of it. This is based on a story that Socrates recounts, where one of his friends went to the oracle in Delphi and asked who is the wisest man in Athens. And the oracle replied that Socrates is the wisest man in Athens. And when he heard that, Socrates, he thought that was wrong. And he set out to find someone who was wiser than him, which should be easy, he thought. So he went first to a statesman and asked him a lot of questions and decided that he was not wise. He might know a lot about statecraft, but he also thought he knew a lot about everything else, which he did not. He was in fact ignorant. So Socrates showed that he was ignorant, and then he moved on. And then he moved on to the poets to see if they were wise. And this is what I'll read out loud. After the political experts, I went on to the poets, tragic, diaphragmic, and the rest, on the basis that it was here I'd catch myself red-handed as actually more ignorant than them. So picking out those of their poetic compositions they seemed to me to have spent most effort on, I would ask them what they were trying to say, with a view to learning a thing or two from them as well. Well, Athenians, I blush to tell you the truth, but it has to be told, practically speaking, almost everyone present would have better things to say than they did about their own compositions. So I quickly came to the same conclusion about the poets as I had about the others, that it wasn't through wisdom that they did what they did, but rather through some sort of natural talent. So you must really have pissed off half of Athens, going around trying to find someone who was wise and showing that they knew nothing. Nobody likes to be shown that they know nothing. And I'm pretty sure you can piss off any poet you can find by asking what is the meaning of his work, and then proceeding to show that he has no clue. And here's Socrates' comment on public office, why he did not enter it. Now it will probably seem strange that I go about as I do, busying myself with giving advice in private, but not venturing to advise the city in public when you are gathered together in the assembly. If I had set about a political career all those years ago, I'd long ago have come to a sticky end and would have been of no use either to you or to myself. Don't be annoyed with me for telling the truth. There isn't anyone in the world who'll survive if genuinely opposes you or any other popular majority and tries to prevent widespread injustice and lawlessness from occurring in the city. Anyone who's really fighting for justice must live as a private citizen and not as a public figure if he's going to survive even a short time. So what he's saying there is he doesn't want to be a public figure because he would have to lie or die if he did. He would rather stay true to what he really thinks. So let's leave Socrates alone with that. And the next thing I picked up was this. And this is short stories by Leo Tolstoy. I'm not sure, but I think he's a Russian author, best known for some seriously lengthy and massive novels like Anna Karenina, War and Peace and stuff like that. But this book here is 2 short stories. How Much Land Does a Man Need is the first one. And that proceeds pretty much like you would think from the title. How much land does a man need? It's about a Russian man who is overcome with greed. And he wants more and more land, and the devil keeps tempting him. So eventually he dies from exertion trying to get more and more land. And all he needs in the end is just enough to bury his body from head to toe. So here's some of the other books. This one is on Caligula from the 12 Caesars. And he was a massive tyrant who passed some seriously wicked laws. And then we have Sophocles with Antigone. This is a play from ancient Greece around, I think he was a contemporary probably of Socrates. And then we have a little bit of history from Herodotus. And those are histories from around the time where Sparta and Athens, together with the rest of the Greeks, threw out the Persians when they invaded. And we have all of that 300 business. where King Leonidas of the Spartans held out for a long time with 300 Spartan men. And that's one of the strengths of the Little Black Books. If you take a look at this one, which is an excerpt, it's not very large, it's not very daunting to start, and it'll only take you about 40 minutes to read it to see if it'll interest you or not. And it's an excerpt from this book here, which is pretty massive, which is Herodotus' Histories. And that's much more daunting to start reading. But if you like what you read in the Little Black Book, you could go ahead and pick up that. And here's a book from a Japanese author that I don't know. A Cup of Sake Beneath the Cherry Trees. I have no idea who Kinko is. And there's a lot of books in the Little Black series that I have no idea who the author is or what he wrote or what it's all about. So there's lots of discoveries to be made. They did a good job at selecting a very wide variety of books. Here's a book from Kipling, Rudyard Kipling, who is best known for poems. And this is a collection of short stories by him. So yeah, I could go on and on and on about it. There's a ton of books, 80 in all, for less than $1 a piece. I think the box set is less than $80. I've really made a lot of discoveries, which I think is the point. And of course, it's also good marketing for Penguin, because if you find something you like, you're very likely to go back and buy the whole book, like I'll certainly do with Marco Polo. So if you're even the least bit interested in classical literature, I'm sure you'll find a lot of happy moments in company of these Little Black Books that you can easily bring and read on the train or in the bus or waiting at the dentist's office or anything like that. It'll take about 40 minutes to read one of them, no more than that. But keep in mind that the quality is really not that great. It will probably bend in your back and stuff like that, and it will wear, so it's not a showpiece. It is really a tool to get to know a lot more classic authors than you might know when you start. And if I didn't own this, I would buy it again in a second. I think it's a pretty good deal, and I think it's a good deal probably because Penguin knows that if they sell a lot of these, it'll probably lead to more sales of the actual books. So I'll put the full list of all of the 80 books in the description, as well as links to the website where you can read more about the box set and where you can buy it. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.